Hey, y'all. I'm Bud Elliott, and this is Cover 3 College Football Summer School. We've done our research on the teams, and now we're bringing on the top team experts from the 24/7 Sports Network to help us fill in the blanks. Please follow us on Twitter at Cover3 Podcast. That's Cover3 Podcast. And leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. All right. Class is in session. Hey, guys. Welcome back into the Cover3 Podcast. I'm Bud Elliott, and this is Summer School, where we take our experts from the 24/7 Sports Network and go over a team. And today, we're pleased to be joined by David Johnson of InsideTheRebels, covering all things Ole Miss. David, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Bud. Glad to be on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So last year, a tremendous season for Ole Miss, top 15 level team on the power ratings, 10-3 in the record book, went to the Sugar Bowl. Things seem to be going really well for Lane Kiffin there overall.
Yeah, no doubt. And, the biggest question mark after that season pulled in with the loss to Baylor in the Sugar Bowl was, could they restock the cupboards through the transfer portal? And man, did they ever. Lane Kiffin with the number one class in the country as far as transfer portals go. And, we got a good glimpse of those guys over the last month or so during spring practice, and some really, really good pickups for Lane. Some that, I guess the verdict is still out, so to speak, on what kind of impact they're going to make. But overall, I think a really good class, and I think Ole Miss has positioned itself, as long as they can iron out a few wrinkles over the offseason, to have a similar performance this fall.
Let's start with quarterback. Obviously, we're recording this before the NFL draft. It'll actually air after the NFL draft, but they are losing Matt Corral to the draft. You have Jackson Dart, the electric transfer from USC, and you have Luke Altmaier, who I know a lot of coaches were very high on as a recruit. We got to see a little glimpse of him in the Sugar Bowl. Is there, first of all, from reading your reporting, it doesn't seem like Dart has totally locked this thing down, regardless of who wins. Is there any chance that this is not a drop-off in performance?
No, there's no chance at all. Neither Luke Altmaier or Jackson Dart is Matt Corral, and I don't think anybody should really expect either one of them to be. Now, does that translate into them not winning as many games this fall? Not necessarily, but you brought up one thing where Jackson Dart may, not be the guy right now that everybody in Oxford was hoping he would be in January when his recruitment was going on. He does have a tremendously high ceiling. He's got a great arm. Lane said after the growth on Saturday that, and it was not a good day for Jackson Dart. He threw a pick six. He threw another interception. He finished 11 for 30. That he thought Jackson was on the field trying to win the job, whereas he really needs to kind of play in the system a little bit. And he's been on campus, 3 months now? And Luke Altmaier's got a year and 3 month head start on him. And Luke is more comfortable in the system. I think he knows more of what Lane expects from the quarterback position. And I think it's up to Jackson Dart between now and fall camp to grasp those things and ascend to the level of winning the starting job. If not, Luke Altmaier, he's not shabby himself, a former 4-star recruit. Luke's ready to grasp this job if Jackson doesn't come on between now and September the 3rd when they open the season against Troy.
At the running back spot, they do lose Ely. They lose Connor and Parrish. But I feel like if you bring in Evans and Bentley from TCU and SMU respectively, you got to be feeling pretty good there. I want to ask you about receiver, where I guess I have more questions, unless I'm wrong about running back. I assume running backs will be just fine.
No, running backs are, my take from spring. I think Ole Miss can have a better group of running backs than they had last year. Zach Evans, Ulysses Bentley, a kid named Kentrell Bullock, who has just been a reserve here throughout his time at Ole Miss. He can run the ball well. And then they signed a kid from Alabama, true freshman, here early, Quinshawn Judkins. And let me tell you, Quinshawn will make some level of contributions in the backfield this fall, Bud. I think he's better than what his 4-star rating was coming out of high school. I mean, I'm telling you, this kid can play. So the Rebels are loaded in the backfield. I think the production is going to be there as well behind a really good line.
No doubt about it. All right, that is a name that we'll put down here in the book. So at receiver, replacing Drummond, replacing Sanders, or replacing Pearson. Watkins from Louisville comes in. Trigg obviously comes in from USC. I assume both those guys are coming in to start. Do you see a drop off here? Is there anybody from the existing roster that we should know about who you would project to step up and take a starting spot?
Yeah, I mean, you have Jonathan Mingo coming back, and Mingo is, if you want to compare him to somebody, you could maybe call him A.J. Brown light. He's got those physical characteristics that A.J. Brown has. He was kind of hindered by injuries last year. He was hurt Saturday, did not play in the spring game. And I would start there talking with him and talking about wide receivers. Michael Trigg is a huge upgrade for Ole Miss. Back in January when Trigg and Dart both came from USC, they were searching for a home. It was more like Ole Miss was really recruiting Jackson Dart and coming with him. Whereas, it's kind of ended up being spring. Trigg was the huge get. And, Dart is out there battling for the quarterback's job. But those two guys are going to be special. Jordan Watkins, I think, could certainly end up starting at the slot. He is more than a serviceable receiver, as he proved in Louisville. But, Ole Miss is not through recruiting wide receivers through the transfer portal. They're after several other guys. So this wide receiver core, when we get into fall camp in August, it's going to look different than what it looked like this spring. There are going to be 2, maybe even 3 guys in that room. And, understand where their weakness may be on the offensive side of the ball. They're trying to remedy it right now.
For sure. I feel like the offensive line has a chance to be potentially a lot better with the Western Kentucky transfer and just some of these young guys growing up. When I watched them last year, David, I felt like they had to get Corral involved in the run game a lot when teams played this drop 8 stuff on them, but also at times like the movement in the run game wasn't always as good as maybe they had hoped. Am I wrong to think their offensive line could be more physical and better?
Oh, I think you're exactly right. The first 5. First 5 are very talented. I would say out of that group, 4 of the 5 of them probably have future NFL careers. I think Jeremy James, a left tackle, could surprise a lot of people and be a high-round draft pick after this season. He's that good. You mentioned Mason Brooks coming from Western Kentucky. Look, the guy is a bulldozer, road grader, very smart kid. He's going to play right tackle this year. And they're pretty strong in the interior with the first 5. The question with the O-line is, can they stay healthy? Can they stay away from having to get into a lot of unproven depth right now? Just to be honest with you, they've got a lot of good young kids behind those front 5, but are they really get out there and play SEC football? That's the question right now with the O-line.
No doubt about it. I assume we're not going to see a lot of schematic differences in the offense with the change from Levy to Charlie Weiss Jr. just because it's still kind of Lane's offense, right?
Yeah, it's Lane's offense. I think what you are going to see are a whole bunch of new wrinkles and twists, different things that they are doing. First, we didn't get to see a lot of that in the spring, obviously, with the spring game and practices in front of the media. They kind of kept things vanilla a little bit. But, talking to some of the players on the team, there are going to be some wrinkles in this offense, some new things that Charlie kind of brought in with him. So, we're excited to see it. But you're right about one thing. It's Lane Kiffin's offense. They're going to go 100 miles per hour. They're going to try to snap the ball 900 times a ball game. And we'll see what happens, but it's going to be fun.
No doubt about it. Defensively, I have a lot of questions about this team. So obviously they lose the DC Durkin to Texas A&M, but you have Partridge and Crum as co-DCs. I thought last year's defense was pretty effective and unique. I mean, they were top 35 power rated, opponent adjusted. Excellent, really excellent pass defense, horrendous run defense. But I was almost like by design, I felt like watching them just based on how they played some of the stuff. They were okay giving up the run, and then they're like, all right, we'll just try to stop you in the red zone. They almost never allowed explosive plays. It was effective. I schematically and just strategy wise, are you expecting a similar strategy from the new DCs?
Yeah, with a little bit more gambling.
Okay.
We saw a little bit of that from Chris Partridge during our viewings this spring, where, Chris is he's not afraid to take a chance, and I think you're going to see Ole Miss, do that this fall. They remedied their depth issues on the defensive line. I mean, some big time transfers coming in here. J.J. Pegues from Auburn, they're lining Pegues up at nose tackle. Now, he's capable enough. He can play a 3-tech or a 4-eye if he has to. And, I mean, him in there and tackle create a whole new line of a pass rush for Ole Miss. They're pressuring the quarterback from the gut this year. At least that's what we saw in the spring. And, they've got 8, 9, maybe even 10 guys that they can play at rotation. So losing a Sam Williams is a big thing, but – when you look out there on the edge and there's Cedric Johnson, who had to have sacks last year himself, he's back, he's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger, he's smarter. I think Ole Miss is going to look like a different defense this year. The secondary is fine. I mean, they're solid and deep in the secondary. The only question mark right now is linebacker. They lost some good linebackers last year, Mark Robinson, Chance Campbell. Both those guys are gone, so you got to replace those guys. Campbell was their lead tackler. So I think that's another area that you're going to see Ole Miss between now and July really hit the portal on, is trying to bring in another linebacker, maybe even 2 guys, depending on how wide receiver numbers shake out and all that. To kind of shore up the final piece of this defense. But what I see this year from Ole Miss, a lot of the same you saw last year, but with a little more edge to it. I think they're going to blitz more. They're going to take chances. They're going to try to disrupt the offense.
Wow, that's going to be quite the departure from what we saw last year when they were really sort of almost more Arkansas style, if you will. Just kind of, it was a lot of drop 8 stuff, and see what happens when you get into the red zone. Circling back to the D line there, the one that I can certainly buy, and obviously I believe in a lot of the guys that Ole Miss has brought in. I do wonder if nationally we talk about a lot of these teams. Michigan losing Hutchinson and Georgia losing all these guys. Sam Williams was just so productive last year. I mean, he had triple the tackles for loss of the rest of the defensive line returning combined. Like I feel like that's a lot to ask those guys to make up for his production. I know they'll try to do it with depth and as a team, but that probably plays into a lot to what you're saying, David, as far as having to, either wanting to blitz more or having to blitz more if you don't have him, creating a pressure rate at such an absurd number.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, Sam will be missed. There's no doubt about it. But I'm telling you, Cedric Johnson is a kid that he has the body. And, I mean, he's a little bit of a proven commodity, again, with 6.5 sacks last season. I think Partridge is itching to turn Ced loose on that defensive end, at the defensive end position, and let him roll. So I don't know. Yeah, you may get less production from that spot, I guess, simply because Sam isn't there, but you may not. I mean, there are enough guys that they can play across that defensive line that, I tell you, I think this Ole Miss coaching staff believes that area is probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest, on the team, with the guys they brought in, and improvement of other players.
That's really saying something, David. That is awesome, man. Well, hey, we really appreciate your appearance here on Summer School for the Cover 3 podcast, and we'll be sure to have you on again come fall.
All right, Bud. Thanks for having me on.
All right, David. Thanks so much, man. All right, that's the bell. Cover 3 College Football Summer School is over for today, but don't worry. We'll be back soon with even more episodes filling you in on the top teams in college football. Please give us those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on YouTube and on Twitter at Cover 3 Podcast, and we'll see y'all soon.